A breakthrough for scientists after they had a 20-minute conversation with a humpback whale.
What if the sounds we've been hearing for centuries were never meant to be just noise? For years, scientists recorded strange signals, low rumbles, rhythmic pulses, eerie vibrations picked up deep underground, beneath oceans, and even from space. Most were labeled as interference, background static, nature doing its thing, and then AI got involved. Using advanced pattern recognition, researchers fed these meaningless sounds into artificial intelligence systems designed to detect structure, language, and intent. What came back stopped them cold. The AI didn't hear randomness. It detected patterns, repetition, syntax. Not words exactly, but something uncomfortably close to communication. And here's the twist. The results didn't match any human language or anything we expected to find. What the AI translated challenges how we define sound, intelligence, and even consciousness itself. If you're ready to dive deeper into discoveries like this, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next revelation might be even stranger than this one. This story begins long before AI, long before supercomputers, back when humanity was just starting to realize how little it understood the natural world. In the 1970s, something unusual happened beneath the ocean's surface. Scientists studying humpback whales decided to do something simple but revolutionary for the time. They listened. When they lowered microphones into the sea, they didn't hear random animal noise. They heard long, haunting sequences of sound, moans, pulses, and melodies that could last for hours. Even more shocking, these sounds changed over time. Whales didn't just repeat the same calls over and over. Their songs evolved, almost like music that gets rewritten season after season. These recordings were compiled into an album called Songs of the Humpback Whale. It wasn't meant to be entertainment. It was scientific documentation. But when the public heard it, something shifted. People suddenly felt a connection to these massive, mysterious creatures. That single album helped ignite a global conservation movement and played a real role in saving humpback whales from extinction. For the first time, humans didn't just see whales as animals, we heard them as voices. As research expanded into a field called bioacoustics, the study of animal sounds, scientists realized how deep the mystery really was. They spent endless hours replaying tapes, slowing them down, mapping patterns, and trying to decode meaning. Were the songs mating calls, warnings, navigation tools, emotional expressions? No one could say for sure. The problem wasn't curiosity, it was limitation. Humans were drowning in data. Thousands of hours of recordings existed, but the human brain simply wasn't built to recognize complex patterns across that scale. We could hear the sounds, but we couldn't truly understand them. For decades, the whale songs remained a beautiful riddle. That's when Dr. David Gruber entered the picture. Gruber, a marine biologist and National Geographic researcher, believed the problem wasn't the whales, it was our approach. Instead of relying on old methods, he looked somewhere completely unexpected for inspiration: outer space. Specifically, SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. SETI scientists listen for patterns in cosmic noise, hoping to detect intelligent signals from distant civilizations. Gruber had a bold thought. What if we've been searching for alien intelligence too far away? What if a non-human intelligence has been communicating right here on Earth all along? That idea became Project CETI, the Cetacean Translation Initiative. The goal wasn't just to record whale sounds anymore, it was to decode them, to find structure, meaning, possibly even language. To do that, Gruber assembled an extraordinary team: marine biologists to understand whale behavior, computer scientists to handle massive data sets, linguists to analyze communication patterns, and roboticists to build tools that could operate in the deep ocean. Their ambition went beyond science, as usual. They weren't just listening anymore. They wanted to talk back. And that's where everything changes. Because to truly connect with another intelligence, you don't just need ears, you need a way inside their world. The Dream Team project CETI didn't move forward because of one genius idea. It moved forward because of the people behind it. Dr. David Gruber understood something crucial from the start. Decoding whale communication wasn't just a biology problem. It was a language problem, a data problem, a technology problem. And solving it would require a team unlike anything science had assembled before. So instead of building a traditional research group, Gruber built a hybrid: marine biologists, AI experts, linguists, robotic engineers, and data scientists, all working toward one shared goal: understanding what whales are actually saying. No single field could do this alone, but together, their skills formed something powerful. At the heart of the project were the field scientists, the people who didn't just study whales from a distance, but lived alongside them. One of the most important figures was Shane Giro, a marine biologist who spent more than a decade studying a single community of sperm whales near the island of Dominica. His relationship with these whales wasn't abstract. He knew their family structures. He recognized individuals. He watched calves grow into adults. This long-term, intimate knowledge became the emotional and scientific foundation of Project CETI. Without it, the data would have been meaningless noise. But what truly changed everything was the arrival of modern AI. For decades, scientists had recordings of whale sounds, but they simply couldn't process them fast enough or deeply enough to find patterns. Human ears and brains have limits. AI does not. Natural language processing, the same technology used to analyze human speech and written language, opened a door that had never existed before. Suddenly, it was possible to scan millions of whale clicks and vocalizations and look for structure, repetition, and rules. Around 2019, the team realized something extraordinary. The technology had finally caught up with the dream. They could now build something that sounded like science fiction, an underwater recording studio capable of capturing whale communication in detail never achieved before. Not just isolated sounds, but conversations, interactions, and context. Dominica became the perfect base for this effort. Its deep waters lie close to shore, allowing sperm whales to be studied without chasing them across open oceans. Even more importantly, the same whale families return year after year, making long-term observation possible. This wasn't just a location, it was a living laboratory already mapped by decades of research. In 2020, Project CETI officially launched, backed by a massive $33 million grant from the TED Audacious Project. That funding transformed ideas into reality. It allowed the team to begin building a 20-kilometer by 20-kilometer underwater listening network, essentially a giant acoustic web that could track who was speaking, who they were speaking to, and what was happening socially at that moment. This was the breakthrough. For the first time, technology and biology weren't working separately. They were guiding each other. Field observations shaped the AI models. AI discoveries sent scientists back into the water with new questions. That unity, human experience, and machine intelligence working as one, became Project CETI's greatest strength. And with the dream team in place, They were ready for the next challenge, capturing whale voices without ever disturbing the whales themselves, the oceans, and the working technology. To understand whale communication, Project CT had to solve a problem humans had never faced before. How do you listen to an entire ocean without disturbing the creatures living in it? The answer wasn't one device, but an entire system working together beneath the waves. At the center of this system were hydrophones, underwater microphones placed on the ocean floor. But these weren't ordinary recorders. They were arranged in large grid-like networks, constantly listening, day and night. Imagine a room where every wall is covered with microphones so sensitive they can hear a whisper from across the building. Now scale that up to the size of the ocean. That's what Project CT built. These hydrophones didn't just capture sound. Because they were spread out across a wide area, they could determine where a sound came from. By comparing the timing of clicks reaching different sensors, scientists could triangulate the exact location of a whale. For the first time, it became possible to answer a critical question. Which whale made which sound? That single breakthrough changed everything. Hearing a whale was no longer enough. Identity mattered. But sound alone wasn't the full story. To understand meaning, the team needed context. What was the whale doing when it made a sound? Was it hunting, socializing, warning others? Since asking a whale to wear a microphone was obviously impossible, the team turned to robotics. They deployed autonomous underwater drones and robotic systems capable of moving gently alongside whales. These robots attached small, non-invasive suction cup tags to the whales' bodies. The tags caused no harm and eventually fell off on their own. But while they were attached, they collected extraordinary information: audio recordings, movement patterns, depth changes, heart rate, and even interactions with other whales. This was the missing piece. The hydrophones told scientists what was said and who said it. The tags revealed why it was said. A certain click pattern might appear during deep dives for food. Another might show up only during social gatherings. This behavioral context gave AI something human researchers had never had before: clues to meaning. And the scale of this operation was unprecedented. Earlier research from decades ago might have recorded a few hours of whale sounds, maybe a few days if conditions were perfect. Project CT was operating on a completely different level. The system collected millions, eventually billions, of whale vocalizations. It became the largest library of whale communication ever assembled. This massive scale wasn't accidental. Machine learning systems don't learn from small samples. They learn from volume. Patterns emerge only when enough examples exist. Instead of hunting for one magical sound or hello equivalent, Project CETI aimed to capture an entire communication system, its structure, its rules, its rhythm. But at this stage, all of it was still just data. Endless clicks and whistles flowing in from the deep, stored on servers like an undeciphered code. The ocean had spoken, and the machines had listened. Now came the most important step of all: feeding this vast sea of sound into AI models and seeing whether intelligence, human or otherwise, could finally make sense of it. The AI breakthrough. To human ears, the ocean doesn't sound intelligent. It sounds chaotic. Random clicks, strange grunts, overlapping whistles, and the constant roar of water itself. For decades, that noise was the biggest barrier. Scientists could record whale sounds, but separating meaningful communication from background chaos felt almost impossible. That was the wall Project CETI had to break through. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected move, turning sound into sight. Instead of trying to hear patterns, the team converted whale sounds into visual maps called spectrograms. A spectrogram transforms audio into an image, showing pitch, timing, and intensity over time. Suddenly, whale communication wasn't invisible anymore. It had shape, structure, form. What once sounded like noise became something the AI could literally see. This allowed the system to do its first crucial job, filtering. The AI learned to ignore waves, boat engines, and environmental noise and focus only on the meaningful sequences of clicks known as coders. Coders are short, patterned bursts of sound that sperm whales use when communicating with each other. Identifying these reliably was a huge step forward, because now the AI knew what to study and what to discard. Once the noise was stripped away, the real intelligence kicked in. The team used advanced machine learning systems, deep learning, and neural networks, designed to learn the way humans do, but at an unimaginable scale. The AI wasn't given instructions like, "This means danger," or "That means food." Instead, it was fed millions of whale coders and told to find patterns on its own. Just like a child learning language by listening, the system began noticing which sounds often appeared together, which sequences changed depending on situation, and how small variations altered meaning. Over time, order emerged from chaos. What stunned researchers most was how much the AI could detect that humans never could. Tiny changes in rhythm, slight shifts in timing, extra clicks added at the beginning or end of a sequence. To human listeners, these differences sounded identical. To the AI, they were distinct signals, and scale mattered. This wasn't based on dozens or even thousands of examples. It was built on millions of vocalizations collected over years. Without that massive data set, the AI would have been just as lost as earlier scientists. But with it, patterns began locking into place. Then came the realization that changed everything. Whale communication wasn't a small set of fixed signals. It was a system, a flexible one. Researchers discovered that sperm whales combine rhythm, tempo, and what they call ornamentation, extra clicks added to coders, to create different meanings. Change the speed, and the message changes. Add a click, and it becomes something else entirely. In effect, whales were using something remarkably similar to a phonetic system, not letters, but building blocks that could be rearranged into countless unique messages. This shattered the long-held belief that complex, structured communication belonged only to humans. For the first time, scientists weren't just listening to whales, they were glimpsing the syntax of their language, the rules, the structure, the grammar of sound. But understanding structure isn't the same as understanding meaning. The AI had uncovered the framework of whale communication. Now came the most difficult question of all. What were the whales actually saying? Unveiling the whale's worldview. For a long time, scientists went into this research with modest expectations. If whales had a language, it was assumed to be simple. Basic signals tied to survival. A call for danger. A signal for food. A mating sound. Nothing more. That assumption shaped decades of thinking. The AI shattered it. When Project CETI's models began linking sounds to behavior and social situations, researchers realized something profound. Whale communication wasn't centered on actions. It was centered on relationships. The patterns didn't line up with simple commands. Instead, they reflected who the whales were with, how close they were, and what kind of social moment they were experiencing. What scientists were hearing wasn't a code. It was conversation. Whales weren't talking only when they needed something. They were communicating because they live in rich social worlds. Their vocalizations reflected bonding, coordination, and identity. In other words, whale language was social at its core, just like human language. As the AI dug deeper, it uncovered an astonishing level of nuance hidden inside the clicks. Tiny variations in timing and rhythm, imperceptible to human ears, carried meaning. Researchers discovered that whales use something similar to vowels in human speech, not through pitch, but through rhythm. A concept known as rubato, subtle stretching or compressing of timing, turned out to be critical. A sequence of clicks, known as a coda, might stay the same on the surface, but change the spacing between clicks, add a slight pause, or speed it up just a bit, and the meaning could shift completely. Even small ornamentations, extra clicks added at the beginning or end, altered what was being communicated. These weren't accidents. They were deliberate modifications, shaping messages the way humans shape words with tone, emphasis, and inflection. This discovery was a turning point. It showed that whale communication isn't rigid or mechanical. It's flexible, expressive, and capable of conveying subtle differences, possibly even emotional ones. That level of sophistication directly challenged the long-held belief that complex expressive language belonged only to humans. Then came another revelation. AI analysis revealed that whale language is deeply tied to social identity. Different whale families, often called clans, use distinct dialects. These dialects aren't random. They're consistent within families and different across groups, much like regional accents or cultural speech patterns in humans. The AI could identify which whale family was speaking based purely on their vocal style. That meant whale language wasn't just biological, it was cultural, passed down through generations, learned, not hardwired. A shared identity expressed through sound. Even more striking, a single word or coda could mean different things depending on rhythm, context, and dialect. Meaning wasn't fixed. It depended on who was speaking, who was listening, and what was happening at that moment. That's not simple communication. That's a worldview. For the first time, humanity wasn't just decoding sounds. We were glimpsing a hidden culture beneath the ocean's surface, a society built on memory, identity, and shared history. And once you realize that another species has a language, culture, and social depth of its own, one question becomes impossible to ignore. What does this mean for how we treat them? And what comes next, now that we're finally beginning to understand? The goal of two-way communication. For most of human history, our relationship with whales has been one-sided. We watch them, we track them, we listen to their sounds and tried to guess what they meant. Even with all our technology, whales remained distant, present, but unreachable. Project CETI is trying to change that. Now that AI has revealed the structure of whale communication, the team has set its sights on something far more ambitious: actual dialogue, not translation alone, but interaction. The goal is to move from passive listening to real two-way communication. This doesn't mean teaching whales English or forcing human language onto them. Instead, the idea is to use the patterns AI has already identified: rhythm, timing, and structure to generate messages that sound like whale communication. Think of it as learning their grammar before ever saying a word. Researchers compare it to an underwater chatbot, but one designed to speak their language, not ours. At first, the conversations would be extremely simple: basic greetings, simple signals. maybe pointing out an object or initiating a response. The team would play carefully constructed sequences of clicks using underwater speakers and then listen closely for a reply. Even a single meaningful response would be a breakthrough. Proof that communication isn't just theoretical, but real. But this leap forward also raises serious ethical questions. Just because we can communicate doesn't mean we should, or at least not without caution. Scientists involved in Project CETI are deeply aware of this. Whales have complex social systems and cultures of their own. Introducing human-generated signals into that world could have unintended consequences. Could it confuse them? Could it disrupt family bonds? Could it influence how their language evolves? These aren't abstract concerns. They're central to the project. That's why the team is committed to a careful, respectful approach. Any interaction must happen on the whale's terms, using their natural communication patterns and without forcing responses. The goal isn't control or manipulation, it's understanding. The researchers want to open a door, not invade a home. And then came a moment that hinted this future might already be arriving. In 2023, the team conducted what they describe as the first intentional human-whale exchange using decoded whale language. A diver used an underwater speaker to play a specific sperm whale coda. Moments later, a nearby whale responded with the same coda. It wasn't random. It wasn't background noise. It was a direct response. That single exchange sent shockwaves through the scientific community. For the first time, a human had spoken in whale language and been answered. It was brief, simple, but its significance was enormous. It proved that the AI's understanding of whale communication was accurate enough to support real interaction. The barrier between species had, at least for a moment, been crossed. This changes everything. We are no longer just observers of another intelligence on Earth. We are on the edge of participation. And if we can communicate with whales, beings with minds, cultures, and languages of their own, it forces us to rethink humanity's place in the world. Because once you realize you're not alone in intelligence on this planet, the universe suddenly feels very different. Implications for science and humanity. Project CETI isn't just adding a new chapter to marine biology. It's rewriting the book. For decades, scientists were limited to observing animals from the outside. We could track movements, study behavior, and measure biology, but the inner world of animals remained out of reach. Now, with AI acting as a bridge, that barrier is starting to fall. For the first time, researchers can move beyond what whales do and begin exploring how they think, relate, and organize their lives. That shift alone changes everything. This work reveals that animal communication is far more complex than previously believed. Whale language isn't a simple survival tool. It carries social meaning, identity, and culture. That forces scientists to rethink intelligence itself. Instead of seeing intelligence as something uniquely human, we're beginning to see it as something that can take many forms. Project CETI doesn't just help us understand whales, it challenges our definition of what it means to be intelligent at all. One of the most mind-bending implications of this research lies far beyond Earth. The name Project CETI is no accident. It mirrors SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. For decades, humanity has scanned the skies, hoping to detect signs of alien life through radio signals. But whales are showing us something profound. Intelligent communication doesn't have to sound anything like human language. It can be clicks, rhythms, and patterns that only make sense when analyzed at massive scale. By decoding whale communication, scientists have effectively built a playbook for first contact. The same AI tools used to detect structure in whale clicks could one day be used to identify meaning in alien signals. If humanity ever encounters non-human intelligence beyond Earth, Project SETI may have already taught us how to listen. In a strange way, the path to the stars may have begun in the depths of the ocean, but the most powerful implications bring us back home. Understanding whale communication creates a level of empathy that no conservation campaign ever could. Whales are no longer distant giants beneath the waves. They are families, communities, cultures with shared histories. Once you recognize that, it becomes impossible to treat them as resources or abstract symbols. They become beings with voices. This shift strengthens the moral case for conservation. Protecting whales is no longer just about preserving a species. It's about safeguarding a culture and a way of life. Their survival becomes personal. And because whales are deeply connected to the health of the oceans, protecting them also means protecting the planet itself. And this isn't the end. Project SETI is already looking ahead, expanding its research to other species like orcas, refining AI models, and joining a growing global movement to decode animal communication across land, sea, and sky. A hidden world of language is slowly being revealed, one species at a time. Ultimately, this work is bigger than science. It's about learning how to share a planet with other intelligent beings. The whales have been speaking all along. Humanity is only now learning how to listen, and what we do with that knowledge may define our future.